Kristin, it's Betsy. How are you? I didn't realize you were the one who was presenting. You can hear me. I've got to go. I have to take a shower. I'll be right back.
Good morning. Let me turn my volume on. I don't think my volume is on. Oh, there you go. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Kristin. How are you?
I'm Shantae. Nice to meet you.
Meet you. I'm on the right place. I'm in the right place, right?
You are, yes.
Okay. Shantae, do you know anything about the slides? If anyone's going to be able to put them up for me?
Yes, I have them.
Awesome. Awesome. Can I just call for them? Does that make sense?
Yep. After Garrett goes,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna actually just make sure this works because this is my first time doing this part.
Okay.
Actually, hold on.
Yeah.
All that other stuff down.
That's going to be the early on in what I'm saying, and then the next one is going to be for the next gentleman, the U.S. pointer, and then
Okay.
the third slide is going to be at the end.
Okay.
Let me grab my coffee. Be right back.
Can you see the full screen?
I can see the slide and then the next slide. So the whole thing is up.
Okay.
So the next slide is off to the right. Yeah. What would you do? Like full screen slideshow maybe, or?
That's what I'm. Not sure what is. How about now?
Same. Oh, now, yes, perfect. Yeah, full screen. Yeah. Excellent. Hey, Ryan. You're on mute.
There we go. Morning.
Hi.
Hello, good morning. Ryan, this second slide, Shante, if you could show, yeah, this is going to be for you, okay?
Oh, okay, great.
2-year randomized, self-guided, 2,000 people. Just when you start talking about Pointer.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, yeah.
And that's going to be at the very end because I want to talk about walk with folks. So, how you doing?
Good. You?
Good. Yeah. Doing hair and makeup. That's different.
Yeah.
Been in the not care so much mode. Presenting is different.
Right.
There's Jessica. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good morning.
Debbie pops up. Hello. How are you?
In a garden of flowers. Good morning.
It's beautiful. I've got mine over my shoulder, so.
Nice. I see them.
Debbie, there's a third slide. I'm going to do one slide. Dr. Adele to the right is going to do another. And then I'm going to call for the walk slide later. I'm going to call you in too, but I just want to make sure that the moderator knows that. So when he clicks on, we'll talk to him about that.
Okay.
Jessica, I like your growth on your wall.
Thank you. It was really for the entertainment. I have a turtle back here actually. And the white walls, I think there wasn't enough like stimulation, so we put it up for him so that he can have something to look at while he swims around.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Hey, Deb, I'm going to text you something.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Hides my orange flower, which has 3 petals, I think.
Oh, those flowers can be super frustrating. I was trying to fix one. I stabbed myself. It was a mess.
Do you know how many folks have signed up for this? Have you heard?
I don't know. I haven't heard from Glenn. I mean, I don't know how to evaluate brisk, but that's what he said. He said registration was brisk. So
I think we're all on now, so everybody who chimes in can hear us. There's no special start or anything. Yeah, so it says 9 people are on. So we'll see how it goes.
okay. Good morning.
Good morning. We had about 40 people register.
Oh, wonderful.
That's awesome.
First thing in the morning, absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody has their coffee.
Ryan's got a suit jacket on. I mean, come on.
I know, it's very impressive, Ryan.
Thanks.
So Debbie, that's Dr. Ryan O'Dell and that's Jessica, and they're going to be speaking from Yale ADRU. So Debbie is our walk manager. So she actually put this whole thing together. Got this ball rolling and secured the relationship and secured the connection with the chambers. So she worked really hard on this. So greatly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. This is exciting.
It is. It's a different audience. It's not people who would normally, I don't know, it's just not offered as much to everyone. And the fact that you guys are joining us is really special, because I can talk all I want. I'm not in a lab, and I'm not doing the actual work. I can relate the information, but you guys are actually on the front line, so.
I was really happy when they were excited about this because, not that it's not important, but pretty much everything else has been focused on businesses reopening and COVID and, so sometimes, and all of that's very important. But it's just nice to have something that, affects all of us. And it's just a little bit of a break from COVID. Not that we actually are going to get a break from COVID.
Right. Yeah, a few of the universities, right, have already sort of shut down or gone back to virtual learning in the first week.
I know. It's, my kids are all. Good morning, Tamika.
Okay, there we go. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
We've
Hi,
got,
Glenn.
first we see Glenn.
Hey, Glenn.
We've got Kristin, we've got Ryan, and is it Jessica? Can you hear me? Jessica, or is it Jessica?
I believe it's Jessica.
Jessica. Okay, good. I just wanted to see that we had all 3 of our panelists on. Very good.
That's always a good sign, right, Tamika?
Always a good sign, and always good to see you, Debbie.
Otherwise, you and I are doing some kind of a dance or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so really quick, I just wanted to talk about, as we talked about, Kristin, in the very beginning when we all met, we have some slides that we're going to be running first. So Shantae's going to run those slides. And then we also took the poll questions, the questions that you sent to Glenn, and we have loaded them in the poll.
Oh, cool.
To keep it interactive. I think I mentioned that to you as well.
Yeah, I'm just not, I just may address them beforehand, so it's not like a quiz ahead of time. So I'm just not sure at one point when they'll show up, you know what I mean? So,
well, you'll have to cue us.
I do.
So,
okay. So what's the first one? Because I sent you 3, I think.
Okay, hold on a minute, because I put them in one poll.
Let me see if I just go back to my email. I can tell you what the.
What is the risk factor of Alzheimer's?
You got risk, you got what will you do to protect your brain, and then how many people in Connecticut? Those are the 3. But I don't know what order. I can't remember what order.
Right, but do you want them to go off one by one? Because I put them all in one poll.
Yeah, I think we probably should do one by one, Shantae.
That's right.
Yeah, so the first one that I see, Kristin, is what is a risk, as she said, what is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease?
Okay.
Morning, Garrett.
And
So
maybe
after we do, I'm sorry, Kristin, go ahead.
maybe I was thinking the second one could be how many people.
Mhm.
Probably will have addressed that. And then the third one maybe could be, what do you do to protect your brain? Or skip the second one and we could just do the first and the third. It's fine.
Just the first and the third?
I
Okay.
mean, because do you break for these? Do you actually wait and have people log in and all that?
Yeah, it's quick. So
Okay.
they answer the questions and then you can actually share the results on screen.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so let's do the first and the third, and I'll just call for them. And then, Tamika, I think I was going to ask you, so I was going to do the first slide. I think the second slide is going to be for Ryan. The third slide, I was hoping I could pull in Debbie at the end to talk about walk. And then
Okay.
she could pop this last slide up for her, if that's okay.
Okay. And Shantae has the slides that you sent,
Yep.
so she was planning to navigate those as well.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
And good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. We'll let everyone get into the webinar here.
Tamika, do you guys ask everyone to mute, or do you have, is it people just kind of can comment through, or are they commenting on chat? What do you guys normally do?
The chat. So if people have questions during the presentation, they can ask those through the chat specifically. Mm-hmm.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Shantae or Tamika, do y'all need me to do anything, or I'm just here to be great?
I love it.
Wait, that must be Andy.
Yes.
Good morning, Andy.
You're there to be great.
Okay.
That was a good one. Mhm.
Thanks, Andy. And everyone can hear you. So everyone now has seen that Andy Urafici is here, our chair of the Healthcare Council. My name is Garrett Sheehan, President and CEO of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce. So we appreciate everyone joining us this morning for brain health and the latest Alzheimer's research, what you can do today to reduce your risk of developing dementia. First, I just want to thank all of our sponsors. We regularly thank Avangrid, Connecticut Natural Gas, Southern Connecticut Gas, and UI for all the support that they've given us. Also, all of our annual investors and the chambers that stream all of our content that we work in partnership with. As I was mentioning, our investors support the chamber throughout the year, and we've only been able to put on all of this programming for you because of their support. So we truly do appreciate it. It allows us to do so many things here at the chamber. As I was mentioning, we do have a great program. A few things I want to mention. First, thank you to the Healthcare and Life Sciences Council for putting this together. They've done a great job all year, especially in this different format of providing great content for the membership. You can put your microphone on mute. You can show your video or not. That's up to you. I'm going to hand it off to Kristin in just a moment to introduce our speakers and go through the topics we're going to cover. Then at about 8:45 this morning, we're going to pause and we're going to go into our networking breakout rooms. That's the one thing we like to try to do different about these councils and conversation. If you remember this event when it was in person, so much of it was about networking. So we like to continue to have that opportunity to do that. So we'll do 15-minute breakout rooms. They're randomly chosen, so we'll do that at about 8:45. Also, as we're going through the program this morning, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and then as we go through, probably at the end, we'll get to most of them, but it may be something that one of the speakers wants to pick up on as they're talking as well. So please utilize the chat. We'll also take questions live at the end, and we should have some poll questions that we're going to run through as we go through the presentation this morning. So with that, I want to introduce Kristin Casado, with Communications Director for the Alzheimer's Association of Connecticut, and she's also a research champion. And I should say the Alzheimer's Association here in Connecticut is a great chamber member, and we're really proud to have them as part of our organization. So Kristin?
Thank you so much, Garrett. Thank you everyone for having us. I'm so excited and pleased that we are here today and that you guys all got up early to join us to hear about the very latest in research. My name is Kristin Casado. I'm Communications Director, but also a Research Champion, which is Research Liaison. So essentially, we are the Alzheimer's Association Connecticut chapter, and we're under the umbrella of the Alzheimer's Association, the national organization. And there are about 80 chapters across the country. And we do a lot for families, and I'll share that for you in just a moment. But first, I kind of want to explain to you a little bit about, I want to ask you what you're doing. You know, think about it as we talk this morning, what you're doing to protect your brain health. You know, you're certainly starting it out today by being here and getting some education early morning on a Wednesday and learning new things. And that's definitely something that is a good way to protect your brain health. It's like, let's adult distance learning maybe, right? We're not going to school like the kids are, but this is our school for now. But I want to share a little bit about my mom. My mom, Linda, was the head of personnel for an entire county. She was the president of her Rotary Club, second female president, very proud of that ever. She was an amazing woman, my best friend, 2 kids she had. She was a Scrabble queen. She walked around the neighborhood. And then at about age 60 or 61, she started getting lost, going to regular places that she was familiar with, started making checkbook mistakes. When she was a to-the-penny checkbook person, she started leaving the garage door open at night, and the neighbor would call me and say, I don't know why, but your mom's leaving the garage door open at night. It's not very safe. And one of the final straws of needing to take my mom to the doctor was when she called me and said, you know, I had the strangest thing. I was watching television, and you and your brother were here with me in the living room on the sofa. But I knew you really weren't here. In fact, neither one of us were in the state at all. I was in California. My brother was in Connecticut. Mom was in New York. So that was a hallucination early on in her disease. And it was determined that she had Lewy body dementia. It was a type of dementia. So dementia is a brain disease. And this is where I would like that first slide to come up if I could, to kind of explain to you the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. Because I think that a lot of people don't know what that is, and you kind of hear them interchangeably. So I just want to share with you what the difference is between Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, in talking about, there's another umbrella for you. Dementia is the umbrella term. Dementia is the symptoms, okay? Dementia are the symptoms. It is the thing that the person with the disease experiences, okay? The getting lost, the forgetfulness, the feeling foggy, the not remembering the process of how to make a pot of coffee, or how to put clothing on in the right order, or how to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, and then you put it under the water, and then you put it in your mouth, right? It's a processing disease as your brain changes. So what we want to explain to folks is dementia is the symptoms, and then Alzheimer's is the disease that actually causes dementia. And then, as you can see, another type of dementia is vascular, and that usually happens after some sort of stroke or TBI. Lewy body, right? That's what my mother had, and that's a little bit different, but that is another brain disease that causes dementia. And then you have mixed and frontotemporal. So there are many different types of dementia, and I just wanted to explain that to you. But Alzheimer's is the most common type. About 70% of people diagnosed with dementia are diagnosed with the Alzheimer's type. And that is why you hear the term Alzheimer's so much. But we as an association serve all of the folks. So thank you very much for that slide there. We at the Alzheimer's Association have free education classes and support groups, because when in fact your family gets hit with this, I like to call it, gets hit by this Mack truck, you don't know where to turn. We want to make sure that folks know that you turn to us. You go to the Alzheimer's Association. We have a 24-hour helpline that you can call at any time. We have support groups for families. We have education classes to learn about how to discuss, how to communicate. What are the 10 signs? Early on, when do I take my concerns to the doctor? We have advocacy, so you can affect change on the state and national level. And we, of course, have fundraisers to raise money for those free programs and for research by things like the walk. And the Walk to End Alzheimer's is coming up this fall, and we're going to bring in our walk manager in a little while to share with you how you can get involved and help us as well. So that is what we do here. And when we do research, and talking about some of the research, we're the greatest and largest nonprofit funder of research in the world, frankly. We have a lot of really great studies happening across the globe, and we don't care where the cure is from, right? It happens all over the globe, and that's why we fund it all over. But exciting news, right here in Connecticut, we fund about 8 researchers, the tune of $2.5 million right now, active projects, and that's what we fund. But there are a lot of other projects that are funded from the NIH, National Institutes of Health, and you're going to be hearing some of that in just a few moments. I do want to share with you some exciting things that have come out recently in the last couple of years from our Alzheimer's Association International Conference. And the conference is very exciting because it's where thousands and thousands of research gather from across the globe. This year had to be virtual, obviously, as most things are, and about I think more than 30,000 people attended from all over the globe and watched and shared ideas and shared data and learned about the very latest. And I want to share for you, talking about protecting brain health, some things that we learned. So we didn't really talk about brain health a couple of years ago, but then some studies came out and we found out that we can learn about things that we can do now to protect our risk, reduce our risk of cognitive decline later. And one of those things is blood pressure, keeping our blood pressure in check. There was a study called Sprint Mind that dealt with from the systolic 140 keeping to systolic 120, and how that could reduce your risk. They followed those folks over a couple of years. Also, not smoking, moderate drinking, reducing your head injury, right? And actually, let's put up that poll now. Let's talk about some of the other risk factors and then see what people think about what are the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. When we do that, we wait for those to come up.
Yes.
All
Are
right.
you seeing the poll?
Everybody see it and check it?
Just give it a few more seconds. We see people are responding. A few more people are coming in now. Okay, and we'll end the polling here
All right.
and share the results.
All right. So guess what, everybody? You're all correct. They're all risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. Head injury, race, ethnicity. Interesting fact, we have learned that African Americans are 2 times as likely to develop Alzheimer's, and Latinos are 1.5 times as likely to develop Alzheimer's. Why is that? In part because some of those folks are at greater risk for other things like a diabetes or like heart disease. Also, a family member, a 1 person, 1 degree. So my mother had the disease and I am at a greater risk. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get this disease. And maybe if I protect my brain health, we're able to reduce our risk, which is exciting to know. And then So all of those things are risk factors in addition to diabetes. You know, we can talk about BMI in a little bit too. So those are some of the things that we can't control, but some of the things we can control, right, are these lifestyle choices that we make, and are these things that we probably know we should be doing anyway, but we are, you know, we are living our lives, and we try to do everything we can, and everything in moderation. But we'll share a couple more things that are very important. So also that came out of AAIC, the Alzheimer's Association International Conference, very interesting, a study on vaccines. You may have seen it because it kind of made a lot of news a couple of weeks ago. Research that having just one flu vaccine reduced your risk of dementia by 13%. Interesting. Also having a flu vaccine and a pneumonia vaccine, also reducing your risk of dementia. Is it in fact because those people take better care of themselves and go get their vaccines every year? Perhaps that's part of it, but also that's just something to look at. We're looking at more and more research about why that's happening, but that's very interesting. Another found out, we're talking about blood tests. We're getting closer to a blood test because right now, the way that we can diagnose, okay, before it was just autopsy, right? We're going to look at the brain and actually see the lesions that cause this disease. Now it's through a PET scan, which is very expensive and not covered by insurance, but you can see the brain changes, and also by very painful, invasive lumbar puncture to get the spinal tap, to get the spinal fluid to determine what's happening in that brain fluid. So now we are looking at, let's get closer to something non-invasive, easier, cheaper, getting closer and closer to a blood test. And in determining this, from trying to find out the blood test, what are the changes in the brain? We are finding, you could find that there are changes up to 20 years before any symptoms occur. Okay, so what does that mean? If you go into a doctor's office in a number of years and get the blood test and say, all right, it appears that my brain is changing in that regard, what do I do? Lifestyle interventions. Plan for your future. Make these changes that are very, very important, okay? And some of those changes are going to be regarding the U.S. pointer study, some of the things that we're studying in this study. I would like to, at this moment, if I could, go and send it to Ryan Odell, who is Dr. Odell, who is with Yale and Alzheimer's Disease Research Unit, and he's doing a lot of work on brain health and also protecting your brain and researching into how we can get closer to new treatments and a cure. So Dr. Odell, I'd like to send it over to you.
All right, thank you, Kristin. Good morning, everyone. And I first also wanted to thank, both the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce and the Alzheimer's Association for inviting us all here to speak today. So my name is Ryan Odell. I'm a fourth-year psychiatry resident in the Neuroscience Research Training Program in the Department of Psychiatry at the Yale School of Medicine. And so just briefly, this is a program that allows residents to pursue clinical research or even educational endeavors sort of in parallel with our clinical training in psychiatry, and thereby fostering our development as physician scientists and trying to promote bench-to-bedside investigations into psychiatric illnesses. And specifically, why I'm here today, I'm interested in Alzheimer's disease and related cognitive disorders or dementias, both from a clinical and a research perspective. And to that end, over the last 4 years of my training, I've been working with doctors Christopher Van Dyke and Adam Ymca, both at the Yale Alzheimer's Disease Research Unit, or ADRU for short. That's an acronym I'm going to be using moving forward. So the ADRU is a clinical research unit that specializes in Alzheimer's disease, cognitive disorders, and healthy cognitive aging research. And since our establishment in about 1992, we've been actively involved in aging and dementia research, including a cumulative participation in about 60 multi-center clinical trials for Alzheimer's disease. That's since 1992. And currently, the ADRU, we have a database of around 4,000 local individuals who have contacted us for research participation. And as of now, we're actively involved in about 10 multi-center clinical trials in Alzheimer's disease, so drug studies or treatment studies. And overall, I feel the ADRU provides a robust infrastructure, not only for participant recruitment, but as well as expertise in clinical research design and methodology. And so at the ADRU, we have a lot of goals, a lot of diverse goals, but some of them include, one, our goal is to develop better diagnostic imaging tools for earlier and more accurate diagnosis of this disease. Two, to use these more sensitive and accurate imaging tools to assess the effectiveness of delaying disease progression with our current experimental treatments. And of course, three, to ultimately develop, a more targeted and effective treatments, and hopefully eventually one day a cure for this disease that has touched so many of our lives. And although, COVID precautions right now have certainly and hopefully temporarily affected our capacity to conduct clinical trials and carry out human research, right now the ADRU is currently enrolling participants across a broad range of study designs. Though some of those include brain imaging studies just to help us further understand the basic biology and pathophysiology of Alzheimer's disease, as well as a multitude of clinical treatment trials that involve both pharmacological, so new drugs or medications that target these plaques and tangles in Alzheimer's disease for degradation or destruction, but we're also involved in non-pharmacological interventions. And so for today, I'd like to spend a little more time discussing these non-pharmacological interventions, which often include, as Kristin mentioned, lifestyle modifications, for example, aerobic exercise and their potential effects on cognitive functioning and overall brain health in Alzheimer's disease. But before I do that, I wanted to give everyone a quick background. So currently it's estimated that there's roughly 5.8 million Americans over the age of 65 who've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, and this number is only estimated to rise to about 13.8 million in the year about 2050 as the population continues to age. And this is a so-called silver tsunami as the population continues to age, and this risk of Alzheimer's disease, or the number of people living with Alzheimer's dementia, will only increase. And it's projected that the national cost of care for caring for individuals with Alzheimer's and other dementias in this year, 2020, is going to be about $305 billion. And there's another estimated $244 billion worth of care that's provided by family and other unpaid caregivers. Also, Alzheimer's disease is currently the 6th leading cause of death in the US, actually the 5th leading cause if you only include those over 65 years old, and was actually declared a public health priority by the World Health Organization. And it's therefore critical that we not only develop a more comprehensive understanding of the underlying pathophysiology of this devastating disease, but that we prioritize research into dementia treatment and prevention trials, including investigations into lifestyle interventions, such as exercise, for example, as modifiers of future cognitive decline. And so in alignment with those goals, in 2015, there was the Finnish geriatric study to prevent cognitive impairment and disability, or the FINGER trial for short, that published the results of the first ever multi-center randomized control trial that was testing the effect of multi-domain lifestyle interventions in delaying cognitive impairment in elderly participants who are at increased risk of dementia. So these were participants who did not have dementia, but were at an increased risk of developing it in the future. And briefly, there were about 1,200 participants that they recruited who were at increased risk of dementia, and they were randomized into this multi-domain intervention group, which I'll talk about in a second, or a control group, and they were followed for about 2 years. And so the multi-domain interventions included a lot of things. It included nutritional guidance, structured nutritional guidance, exercise training, both aerobic and strength training, cognitive training, social activities, and vascular risk factor monitoring, while the control group only received general health advice as well as vascular risk factor monitoring. And I think it's important to point out that this study differed from a lot of other studies in that people who were in the intervention group received all of these interventions. It wasn't that one person only got nutritional guidance and another only got exercise. Those in the intervention group received all of these interventions. So after their primary outcome for this study was essentially cognition, performance on a comprehensive cognitive test that assessed multiple domains of cognition, like memory, processing speed, executive functioning, things like that. And at the end of 2 years, they found that global cognition was actually found to be improved by about 25% in the intervention group. They also found some interesting benefits that included a reduced risk of developing new chronic illnesses, like high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that, and reduced risk of functional decline and an improved health-related quality of life. And finally, there's analysis of a 5-year and 7-year extended follow-up in 2016 to 2018 is currently ongoing. So they're seeing if these effects are long lasting. And there's actually a 10-year follow-up planned in 2020. Unfortunately, none of that data is published yet, but should be soon. And so the FINGER trial was the first large long-term randomized control trial to demonstrate that this multi-domain lifestyle-based intervention or approach may preserve cognitive functioning and reduce the risk of cognitive decline among those at increased risk of dementia later in life. And we, and I guess we being the Alzheimer's disease research community, wanted to expand these investigations of risk reduction and prevention through multi-domain lifestyle interventions to a global scale. So therefore, an organization known as the Worldwide Fingers, which was founded and led by Dr. Mia Kivipelto, who was the leader of the initial FINGER trial, was established to support global multi-domain dementia prevention trials, facilitate the sharing of experiences and data, as well as try to harmonize the methodologies, with varying gradations of alignment with the original FINGER trial. So now the goal, or what we have now, is investigating teams all over the world are testing the effects of multi-domain lifestyle interventions modeled after the FINGER trial on brain health and dementia prevention, importantly across a diverse range of populations. So relevant to us in the United States, one such offshoot known as the US Pointer trial is going to plan to replicate the results of the FINGER trial in the US. And the question is, are the results of this initial FINGER trial generalizable to Americans? So this, as Kristin, or maybe it's on the slide here, is a 2-year clinical trial, and we're planning to evaluate the protective effects of multi-domain lifestyle interventions versus general medical advice on cognitive decline in roughly 2,000 cognitively normal individuals. Again, they don't have dementia, but they're at an increased risk for said cognitive decline and development of dementia. So this trial, the US Pointer trial, is led by Dr. Laura Baker at Wake Forest Alzheimer's Disease Center in North Carolina, in collaboration, of course, with the Alzheimer's Association, who's providing funding, and of course with Dr. Mia Kivipelto, who runs the Worldwide Fingers organization and is at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. So recruitment for this study started, I think, in January 2019. They're looking for, again, cognitively normal participants between the age of 60 and 79 years old who don't regularly exercise and may have other risk factors for future memory loss. And that might include a family history of memory problems or Alzheimer's disease, high blood pressure or uncontrolled high blood pressure, cholesterol or blood sugar, diabetes, things like that. And the primary outcomes, similar to the FINGER trial, are evaluations for changes in cognition. And that's assessed every 6 months throughout the 2 years in the study. However, they're also going to be looking at vascular and metabolic health, physical functioning, mood, and quality of life, how these different variables might be improved by the intervention. In addition, there's actually some really interesting sub-studies collecting brain imaging data like MRI data and PET data, sleep data, and gut microbiome data to see how these variables might be improved or affected by the intervention. So the results for this project are projected to be released in a couple of years, about three years or so, late 2022, early 2023. And currently, I believe there's about 5 active study sites that are recruiting participants. One of them being, of course, Wake Forest, the School of Medicine down in North Carolina, UC Davis in California, Rush University in Chicago, Illinois, Baylor down in Texas, and most recently, Brown University in Rhode Island. So in summary, although we continue, of course, to investigate the development and use of novel drug therapies or medicine in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, I feel that it's vital that we simultaneously investigate the efficacy of these non-pharmacological interventions, such as multi-domain lifestyle modifications in the prevention of future cognitive decline. And really, after all, the idea is what's good for the heart, healthy diet, exercise, social engagement, good control of your blood pressure and cholesterol and blood sugar is also likely good for the brain. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Nee, who's our research coordinator, or one of our research coordinators at the ADRU, who's going to be speaking to you surrounding an ongoing excerpt study, which is another trial that the ADRU is involved in, assessing the effects of lifestyle modifications on cognitive decline. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Nee, and I'm a clinical trials site coordinator
and research assistant at the Yale Alzheimer's Disease Research Unit, also known as the ADRU. So today I'll be discussing a multi-centered randomized control study currently running at our site known as EXERT. This study looks into the therapeutic effects of exercise in adults with amnestic mild cognitive impairment and subjective cognitive complaints. So just to give some definition, amnestic mild cognitive impairment causes a slight but noticeable and measurable decline in cognitive abilities, including memory and thinking skills. An individual with amnestic mild cognitive impairment may start to forget important information that he or she would have previously recalled without any issues, such as appointments, conversations, or recent events. Their cognitive testing scores would also show them doing a little bit worse than others their age. What makes this different from dementia is that an individual with amnestic mild cognitive impairment is still functionally intact. They may struggle a bit more with everyday things, but are still able to do them. Dementia, on the other hand, interferes with an individual's abilities to do everyday things. For example, losing functional abilities such as no longer being able to pay bills, forgetting to take their daily medications, or losing the ability to drive. So subjective cognitive complaints, also known as subjective memory complaints, refers to an everyday memory concern noted by a participant, but may not be measurable. So in other words, an individual may inform us that they believe their memory is not as sharp as it used to be. However, on cognitive assessments, they are still scoring the same as others their age and not showing any measurable decline. So some examples of subjective cognitive complaints are word finding difficulty, having trouble remembering things that happened recently, or even forgetting where they put something down or where their belongings are kept. So the goal for the EXERT study is to enroll participants with amnestic mild cognitive impairment or subjective cognitive complaints to see if exercise could help delay the progression or even reverse symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. So the study's participant age range is 65 to 89 years old. To determine if a participant is eligible, our site would conduct a few office visits in which we do safety assessments such as blood work, vitals, EKGs, a walk test to ensure the participant's capable of walking at least a quarter of a mile, as well as cognitive assessments. Once a participant screened eligible for the study, they have a 50-50 chance of being randomized into one of two groups. The first group is the stretching, balance, and range of motion group, and the second group is the aerobic group. The stretching, balance, and range of motion group does stretching and balance exercises very similar to yoga. So on the other hand, the aerobic group does exercises that increase heart rate, such as walking quickly on a treadmill, cycling, or using the Stairmaster. So our site works with the Fairfield and Milford Ymca to provide these participants personal trainers. The nice thing is that the personal trainers work with each participant to create a workout regimen within their randomized group that best fits the individual's physical abilities. So as you may know, with an older age group, an individual's physical abilities can really differ drastically. That's why the personal trainers take into account the physical abilities of each participant and create a specifically designed workout plan that would be suitable for them. So each participant is enrolled in the study, would then be followed for a year and a half, where they would work out 4 times a week at the YMCA and visit our office for safety checks every 6 months. So during the first 2 weeks of working out, a participant would meet with their personal trainer 4 times a week to learn all the exercises. Following that, the participant will begin working out twice a week with the personal trainer and the other 2 times a week on their own. They'll continue doing that for the next year. And the last 6 months of the study will have the participant working out 4 times a week on their own. And all workout sessions usually go for around 20 minutes. At the 6-month, 1 year, and end of study point, the participant comes into our office for safety checks. So very similar to the screening process, these follow-up visits include blood work, vitals, EKGs, as well as cognitive testing assessments. The primary outcome measure for the EXERT study is a cognitive assessment known as the Alzheimer's Disease Assessment Scale Cognitive, also known as the ADAS-COG. So these assessments measure participants' global cognitive performance. So the data from these office visits allow sponsor to analyze if exercise could improve a participant's ADAX-COG score. So the Ymca study started enrollment in September 2016 and actually closed to enrollment this past March 2020. There are 15 sites all within the US involved in the study, including Yale. So our site specifically enrolled 39 participants, and there's a total of 296 participants enrolled throughout all sites. So talking a little bit about COVID-19, since it's something very prominent to our lives right now, the study took a pause in mid-March until recently. So during the study pause, our site kept in contact with all active participants by completing weekly check-ins over the phone. The nice thing about this is it gave us an opportunity to ensure our participants were doing okay during the pandemic, as well as encourage them to continue exercising at home. Exercise, as many know, have a lot of benefits, one of which is keeping the brain healthy. So we really wanted our participants to continue doing that as much as they could during this uncertain time. The Fairfield and Milford Ymca actually reopened in the end of July, obviously with new safety precautions to keep our participants safe. And we have a few participants that actually returned back to in-person training sessions. However, we do understand that the study's population is at higher risk. So the Ymca is also offering virtual trainings in which a participant can use a video chatting program such as Zoom or Skype to work out at home with their personal trainers on an electronic device, such as a cell phone or a computer. Our site and the Ymca sponsors have been working hard to accommodate for the needs of our participants and keep them safe during COVID. So although the pandemic has affected the Ymca study, we are working hard to keep the participants and their brains healthy by continuing the Ymca study and adjusting whenever a change is needed. So the research and the data collection for Ymca is still ongoing. However, our hope is that the study will show that exercise could result in the slowing of the progression of cognitive decline. As important as pharmaceutical interventions are, non-pharmaceutical interventions such as Ymca or the finger trial that Ryan described before could allow for a future where lifestyle choices such as exercising or healthy eating could result in healthier brains and lives. And that's why we feel that, the Ymca study is such an important study and can really benefit us all, as well as, the ones that we love.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. Appreciate that. And Dr. Odell, thank you so much. I just want to share that this is an example of a clinical trial that's as Ryan was saying, non-pharmacological, right? We're not going in and actually having, a drug injected into you or taking a pill and testing you in that regard. And that's what I think some people don't realize about clinical trials. They're not all drug related. So I think that's what's really important, and what I want to share with you guys is the fact that we have a system called Trial Match, which actually is like Match.com for clinical trials. You put in your information, and then it shows you what trials are available within driving distance of you, so you can just go and find out. And your information is never shared with anyone. You find out what's available, and it's up to you to reach out to them. And I think it's important to realize that without people involved in clinical trials, we can't move forward and we can't advance this research. So it's really, really critical. So it's called Trial Match, and you can find that on our website, which is alz.org. I want to share that I never actually finished up the story about my mom. My mom was sick with Lewy body for 4 years, and then she passed away at the age of 65. And so I was with her every time, and all the time, constantly, and I was with her at the end. And because of that, I was a journalist for 20 plus years. Because of the experience, I switched gears and switched my life over to work for the Alzheimer's Association and to share and to make sure caregivers and other folks have the tools they need to go through this journey. So why don't we quickly put up that second poll. We'll take a look at that and get folks involved in, I think the question is going to be, what would you do? What would you do to protect your brain health? I think we've got a couple of options that we're going to throw up for you right now. That was the previous. I think we'll try to go to the next one. The US pointer, there we go. What will you do to protect, or do you do to protect your brain health? Run, walk, play games, read, healthy diet, socialize. You guys take a few seconds to pick your favorite. We talk about that for a moment.
All right, we'll give it a few more seconds.
And while we're doing that too, if I know some people put questions in the chat, but if you have more questions, feel free to do that. We have some time for a few questions before we wrap up as well.
Okay, we'll end the polling here.
Okay. Excellent. Again, all of the things are the right things to do, you guys. So I'm very excited that all of you maybe have done multiple. Run, walk, play games, read. I just started playing Words with Friends on my phone. I know I'm a little bit behind the curve because people have been playing this for like 10 years, but I just started playing that. A healthy diet, Mediterranean diet, socialize. These are 4 different things that we really encourage as part of those 4 tenets of the U.S. Pointer trial. Run, walk, very important. I would like to bring in very quickly, if I could, Debbie Artinian, who is the manager of our New Haven Walk to End Alzheimer's. And the walk itself is everywhere this year. And we're encouraging people to walk in their neighborhoods because of COVID. We can't walk all together. Debbie?
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for coming this morning, and I'm really excited. Thanks for the Chamber for and our Life Sciences and Healthcare Council for having us this morning, and of course, Dr. Ryan and Jessica. It's all just been very enlightening. I'm always learning myself, you know, although I've been here for 6 months now. So this research is very, very important. I think we probably have all, you know, figured that out after listening to everything we learned this morning. And because it's so important, Alzheimer's Association knew that we could not cancel these events. These events fund all this research. So the million-dollar question is, where is WALK? Well, as Kristin said, WALK is everywhere this year. So just to give you like a really, in a nutshell, what we're doing is we're going to have a virtual program, and it's going to be about 30 minutes, 10 o'clock in the morning, and on the 26th and on October 4th and on October 11th, you can go to anyone you want. This year, you can attend you can walk anywhere you want to, honestly. You could walk in your neighborhood, you could go to any location, but we won't be having them at our regular locations, but you can go anywhere that you're comfortable. So you can take your team and go to a trail, or, you know, go on a hike, or do whatever it is that makes you comfortable. So WALK is everywhere. We will have a virtual program. And then, as you can see, these flowers behind me, they represent our Promise Garden flowers. And we will be having set locations where people can be in their car and safely go and visit these locations and kind of have that same, hopefully, community feeling that they have when they would be able to experience their Promise Gardens at the walks. So WALK is everywhere. I will put my email in the chat if anybody has any questions at all and wants to be involved on any level. We also have, I believe Christy Koval is on this call, and she can put her email in the chat also. She is our public policy director. So if anybody's interested in any kind of advocacy, she is the person to contact. So thanks so much. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to address them. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie.
Great.
You want to address, should we address some of the questions, Garrett?
Yeah, let's just see. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone wants to, you know, if you're on video, you can raise your hand, let us know you have a question, and we can go from there. Don't be shy. And in a minute, what we'll do is we'll break into our breakout rooms. Just an opportunity to get to talk in a small group with people, probably about breakout to 10. All right, Isaiah, I see you with your hand raised there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the speakers spoke to testing, you know, for Alzheimer's at least. I'm not sure. Are there ways to test for the various different types of dementia for them starting, you know, and is it different for Lewy body than it is for Alzheimer's than it is? I mean, my mother suffered from multi-infarct dementia, and so I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I can attempt to answer that at first. So in terms of a lot of these, there's, I guess, a difference between, Kristin had mentioned sort of for Alzheimer's disease, sort of the gold standard, initially and as of right now is autopsy. Like when you look at what proteins are accumulating, but certainly each of these, etiologies, Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, they all have different disease processes and different proteins that might be accumulating and causing the symptoms. There's a lot of overlap, but there are different ways clinically we can distinguish. One of them is getting a history is sort of the first step in the clinic. We talk to the person experiencing the symptoms, of course, but also their family members and those close to them. What have they noticed? And there's certain categories that things fit into. Alzheimer's disease, not always, but sort of the classical case is something that starts sort of slowly. It might start with an amnestic presentation. So memory might be the first thing you notice as the symptom, memory troubles. Not always, but that's sort of like the classic case. Whereas multi-infarct dementia or vascular dementia, it's sort of what we describe as stepwise, that you're at a level of cognition and there's an event, whether a stroke or a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, some sort of insult, vascular insult, and then the cognition sort of drops to a new level until there's another event. Of course, as Kristin mentioned, also there's mixed types where somebody might have Alzheimer's disease pathology and vascular pathology, and that makes it a little more complicated. And of course, with Lewy body dementia, there's also different symptoms and different presentations. With Lewy body dementia, you might see more hallucinations. You might see what we call Parkinsonian signs, so like rigidity in the extremities and the arms and legs, things like that. So there's clinical ways to distinguish, but we're also trying to develop better diagnostic markers. As of now, there's a few things, we can do, scans to look at amyloid accumulating in the brain, but those aren't covered by insurance. They're really done in the research setting. So unfortunately, as of now, they're not something that you can, your doctor could order. And that's where we're trying to get to, trying to find whether it's an imaging modality, like looking at your brain in the MRI scanner or a PET scanner, or even better, a blood test, right? That's the least invasive. If we can just draw some blood and know, oh, this protein is specific to Alzheimer's disease or to Lewy body dementia. And that's where, and especially early on, we want to be able to catch that, before the symptoms start. And so that's where we're going towards. But we're not quite there yet, but we're moving in the right direction. Did that answer your question?
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, well, we're right up against the break rooms. If there's any last question out there, we could take one more, but otherwise we'll move into the break rooms. Any last questions?
If I could just share, just to let you guys know, there are 80,000 people right now in Connecticut living with Alzheimer's. And those are only the folks who we know were diagnosed. So a lot of people are at that point where they aren't sure when to go to get that memory test and aren't sure when some of the things that Jessica was explaining about what is that MCI, mild cognitive impairment, when are, I walked into the kitchen, I don't know what I'm in here for, is that something? There's a difference. There's a big difference between Alzheimer's and normal aging. And, you can go to any of our classes online to find out. Some of the classes are, what are the 10 signs? And they're all free. So just go to our website to find that out. And the caregiver angle, we didn't really address, but it's really important as well. Today we talk about research, but caregivers have the brunt, and there are 178,000 of those that we know of here in Connecticut. And you guys, a lot of them are in your businesses. They're in your offices. They are your neighbors. It's not talked about as much. I think it's talked about more. And I think what's important to realize is that we are there for them and there are places they can go. And when you get to that walk and you hold these flowers, or in previous years when we got to the walk and we could hold the flowers, and everyone holds up the color flower that represents what they're going through, and yellow is caregiving. And when you look around and see hundreds and hundreds of people with yellow flowers, it's like, wow, that's your moment. I am not alone. I can do this. I can go on the strength of everyone here, and I can reach out to the Alzheimer's Association. So at that, I just want to really thank the Greater New Haven Chamber for having us. This is an amazing experience and great opportunity, and we appreciate all of you so very much.
Great, thanks, Kristin and Ryan, Jessica and Debbie. We do appreciate you putting on the programming for today. All right, so I'm going to send everyone into breakout rooms. It'll take a moment, and then we'll wrap up right about 9 o'clock. Oh, it is? Awesome.
Daddy, I need water.
Water. Okay, I'll get it for you in a minute.
But she says that I can still watch it. Okay. I like to watch it when she's like sleeping or she's
That's good.
How much math do we have?
All right, welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone found the breakout rooms helpful. We appreciate everyone joining us again. Thanks again to the Alzheimer's Association. I do want to let everyone know we have a big event coming up on September 1st. It's our annual Policy Summit and Summer Connect. We have actually all of our regional university presidents are going to be on a panel to kick us off, and then we're going to talk about the governor's workforce council and the programs that they're putting together. And then there's an opportunity to network in person if that's something that you're comfortable with. We have lots of our restaurants that are participating in the program as well. So you can register on our website. Hope everyone has a great day, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Great seeing everybody. Take
It
care.
really was. Nice to see you,
Bye,
Betsy.
Deb. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out.
Okay.